Pre-Nats weekend, hosted at Wisconsin. Before that, rewind 2 weeks, we're here at Nuttycombe, also at Wisconsin. And as we said, our special guest today will be Mick Byrne from the University of Wisconsin, getting ready to lead his Badger squads out there at the Nuttycombe Invitational. So without further ado, let's have Mick hop on and join us and talk a little XC. Mick Byrne, welcome to the show. It's a big week of cross country. Nuttycombe weekend, always an exciting one. First off, just how are you doing?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on. As you say, it's a big week. Excited for Friday's meet.
It's been, I think, over 15 years now since you guys have hosted the Nuttycombe Wisconsin Invitational, and it's become really the premier destination and event during the season of Division I cross country. So just curious, was that the goal when you guys started, and what's it been like to see that meet grow and be such a spotlight on the cross country season?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think that was the vision back in 2009 when we started the meet. We wanted to put on a first-class competition with anywhere from 6 to 10 teams, you know, good quality teams, and it's just grown into this monstrosity. I think it was a result of pre-Nats, how that was run, you know, before we came out with the Nuttycombe meet. I think, you know, having two A races, two evenly seeded races, I don't think that sat well with a lot of coaches. I think it's very difficult to do that. There is a protocol set up, but you know, I don't know if it works. And so I think coaches were hungry for the idea of having one big race, and you know, we were happy to accommodate the coaches' wishes. And now it's become this, you know, crazy meet on steroids.
I would say, too, that this, you know, with you guys hosting NCAAs as well, this is an even bigger Nuttycombe year, right? Because you're going to have Nuttycombe and then pre-Nats and then Nationals. So 3 opportunities to race on this course, potentially. So how does this add almost to the allure of this meet, especially in 2024?
Yeah, you know, it was, we contemplated this year whether we were going to, you know, just take a break from Nuttycombe, and it was more about thinking about our team, which is pretty young, and do we want to, you know, put them in a situation where, you know, at the end of September we're running Nuttycombe, and I think it's not just our team, but I think all teams. Matt Baxter, you know, referenced it before. You know, kids and teams get up for, you know, for the Nuttycombe Invitational because it is such a big deal. You know, moving it into September kind of changes the dynamic a little bit, you know, but the coaches are still asking the same questions. I've gotten from the most bizarre questions from coaches. What direction does the wind blow out of on September 29th? You know, what's the predictable rain fall, and is there going to be snow, and all those weird questions. But you know, they can look it up just like I can on the Weather Channel. But you know, coaches make such a huge big deal about it, and of course, if a coach is doing that, then the athletes are going to kind of feel that same energy, that same pressure in some cases. But you know, we looked at it this year, was like, is this really what we want for our kids? But knowing what's coming, once we get into the middle of October and hosting the pre-Nats, which is loaded, then going to the conference meet, which is a completely different beast this year with the West Coast schools, and you know, then having to run Ks at regionals and nationals. So yeah, it's a different year. It makes planning a little bit more challenging, but you know, nothing that none of us coaches aren't used to.
Now, I know you mentioned the weather. I already looked at the weather forecast because I'm going to be there this weekend on Friday, and it looks like no snow, obviously, in the forecast. It's going to be cloudy and in the 70s. But, you know, when you look at this, right, like some pretty good conditions this weekend, like what are you looking forward to most seeing from these teams on Friday?
I mean, it's no secret why teams are coming here. It's head-to-head competition. 18 of the top 30 teams are going to go to the line. 3 of the top 10. We've got 8 teams ranked from 10 to 20th in the current poll, and 7 teams from 21 to 30. I think when you look at the middle of the group, from 10 all the way up to 30 with 16 teams, there's a lot of points on the table, and I think that's why this meet has become what it is today. But there's no secret; everybody's chasing points. The weather looks great. The course is in tremendous condition. We've done some renovations out there, some additional fencing. Place looks great. It'll be fast, that's for sure.
Mick, I'm
But the
curious.
10K and the 10K and the 5K courses are two completely different beasts for sure.
Just listening to some of the things you're talking about, the chase for points, the coaches with very interesting questions, the fact that you guys are hosting. When you think about, Nuttycombe, but also the fact that you guys are hosting these big events 3 times throughout this year, I'm actually just curious your perspective on who feels more pressure, the teams that are coming to this and are really chasing these points, and this is kind of their one shot to get that inner kind of outer region competition going, or do you guys feel that being the host, not only are you putting on, you're kind of showcasing your program in front of the school, obviously a ton of tradition there at Wisconsin. How do you kind of sift through those dynamics?
Well, I think I look at it like this. If I'm getting all crazy about a meet in September, I've always said that September is all about training, and I'm not going to change that. Our lineup and will be different. And Big Ten. So if I'm getting all crazy right now at the end of September, then my kids are going to. So I don't feel any pressure. Not getting real up, not getting real high about it, not getting low about it, just even keel, and going to just not change anything from what we've done in the past. We haven't raced a lot in September in the last 5 or 6 years. I'd like to think it's worked. It's worked to some degree for sure. But yeah, I think the kids, obviously, it's the Nuttycombe, and we know what that means here, the history of the meet. I mean, when you think over the last 10 years who's actually competed here, what teams have competed, it's like a who's who in collegiate cross country for sure. If that doesn't get you excited as an athlete, but our job as coaches is to curtail that as much as we can at this time of year. I think Nuttycombe in September is a little bit different than Nuttycombe in the middle of October, for sure.
Now, just looking at the Badgers this year as a whole, right, what are you expecting and what are some of your goals for both the men and the women? The women finished 22nd last year at NCAAs, the men finished 10th. So how are you hoping to see both these programs, as we're starting to get into September, October, November, continue to improve upon what they did last year?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is always to, we talk about Big Tens and beyond. For our men, obviously, going in the end of October, I think it's the 1st of November this year, Big Tens is always huge. With the addition of the 4 West Coast schools, it's going to look different, of course, with Oregon for sure and Washington. But we always look at that as that's the starting point of the season. Quite frankly, I mean, it's no secret. We were disappointed last year after NCAAs, our result in Virginia. Couple of guys got COVID just before the Big Tens, and that really took the steam out of the team and knocked us down hard, and we didn't recover from it. So, but everybody has had something going into these big meets, and it's a time of year where you have to be ready. We weren't, and we were disappointed, and our goal is always to be better than the previous year. So we think we're a better team for sure. We got some good young guys that I'm very excited about. And it's just, getting them prepped and ready to go when it really matters. And that's late October and into November. So excited about, both teams. Certainly the women are a much better team than last year. I'm 100% sure of that. So excited to see what they can do, when it really matters in November.
Mick, just a couple questions on the roster on the men's side. I mean, I think looking at last year's championships, you kind of lose the bookends, right? The number 1 and number 7. Looks like everyone else is back on the roster. Adam Spencer had a long track season going to Paris. What should we expect from them on the men's side specifically this weekend? Do we see a full squad? Are we seeing a partial squad?
Well, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would say you're probably not going to see a full squad. Again, you can't talk out both sides of your mouth. So, you can't say that you're training in September, getting ready for 2 hard 10Ks in November, and not follow through on that. Again, for me, September is all about training. We're going to stick to that plan. And the team that we see out there on Friday will not be the same team that you'll see when it really matters. And that's, from pre-nationals on. I mean, just like everybody else, we'll jump on the points bandwagon for pre-nats for sure. Just because I think it's important to do that and have a safety net. I'm not going to take any chances. Just going into regionals, where our region is pretty stacked. We got Notre Dame and Butler and a couple of other teams, but certainly Notre Dame and Butler. And I would like to have some points in the bag before we head into conference. And so, to answer your question, yes, the team that we see on Friday will not be the exact same team that you'll see later on in the year. And I would say the same for the women, although the women will have a better team than the men this Friday for sure.
Well, I know we're all looking forward to Nuttycombe this weekend, but obviously we already alluded to this a little bit earlier, but you guys will be hosting NCAAs again this year, the first time since 2018. What excites you about, being able to host this, big meet again, and then what kind of work goes into, just hosting a meet like this, the NCAA Championships?
Yeah, I mean, 2 questions. What goes into it? I mean, obviously a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from a lot of people. We have a fantastic event management staff. Mick Byrne doesn't do a lot of it. Our assistant coaches don't do an awful lot of the work. Have to go to a couple of meetings, and that's about it, and just point people in the right direction. But our event management basically runs the entire meet. They're pretty good at it, hosting these, national caliber meets, for quite a while now. Certainly a meet like the pre-nats and in Nuttycombe, it's like a dress rehearsal for the big stage and big show. But we don't have to do an awful lot of the work in terms of coaching staff. What excites me about it, we were talking earlier to Matt Baxter, and he talked about, Wisconsin being one of his favorite courses, and certainly the course. It will look, there's no doubt about it, will look completely different, feel different in November than it will mid-October. And this Friday is going to look completely different than NCAA factor. That's Mother Nature. It was, we got a lot of rain going into the meet, and that was mid-October. We did a lot of damage, but our event management crew, brought it back. We hosted the Big Ten Championships, so they did a great job of bringing it back and getting it ready for Big Ten Championships. And we're prepared for whatever Mother Nature throws at us. But I think the other great part about the meet is, I think Matt said it earlier. Our fan base, it was crazy in 18. Obviously, having Morgan McDonald and having him, fight for that individual title, excited the crowd. But, you know, also Alicia Monson on the women's side, you know, having a shot at the individual title was huge for us. And then having both teams, men and women's. But our crowd, it was crazy. The number of it's hard to put you know, the number on how many spectators actually showed up to the meet, but you know, they're talking in excess of 10,000, and you know, diehard cross country fans, knowledgeable cross country fans that were passionate about not just the Badgers, but seeing this great spectacle of, you know, 31 best men and women's teams in the country compete for national championships. That was just awesome. And you know, all credit to you guys. You guys were, you know, doing the live broadcast at that time, and you know, your recap show did just capture the essence of everything that happened that day, from the snow, the spectators, the noise, the flags. It was fantastic experience. I think because we put on a great show, that's why the NCAA asked us to host it again.
I can vouch for that. I was there. I was out in the snow for a number of hours that day. It was an unbelievable show. I remember 2 Wisconsin teams finishing in the top 10, the individual champ there with Morgan. So it was really a day to remember, especially for you guys. So we're excited for this year, hosting again. Hopefully that means another double top 10 finish for the Wisco programs. But first, we got Nuttycombe this weekend, pre-nats in a couple weeks, and with all that, Mick, we know your schedule is super busy, so we appreciate you joining us today and talking about the season, and excited to see really things kick off this weekend. We call it the Nutty Weekend here, so we're really looking forward to it, and thanks again for joining us.